Hi, I'm Mike Oglesby and I'm the lead developer for the NetApp Data Science Toolkit. Today I'm going to show you how to near instantaneously clone a JupyterLab Workspace using the Kubernetes native flavor of the toolkit. So first let's start out by printing a list of all of my existing JupyterLab Workspaces that are running in my Kubernetes cluster. So to do that, we'll just run the list JupyterLabs operation. And you'll see that we have two workspaces here, one named Dave and one named Mike. And so the workspace named Mike is my workspace. So let's take that access URL and go take a look at it. So if we jump over to our web browser and we paste in this access URL, it'll load up our workspace. And you'll see for the purposes of this demo, I just have a couple of demo files here in this workspace. One is a CSV file with some demo data, and another is a Jupyter notebook that's just printing out some text that says this is a demo. But let's say that I actually have some training data in here and a Jupyter notebook where I have my code for training my model. And let's say that my colleague Satish wants to run an experiment using the same training data and a variation of my training code. And so I want to create a clone of my workspace, an exact copy that Satish can use and modify as necessary, but I want to preserve my workspace from any changes that Satish makes in his. So let's jump back over to the terminal. To do this, all we have to do is run the clone JupyterLab operation. So let's go ahead and do that now. And we only have to pass in two arguments. So first we pass in our source workspace name, and that is Mike. And then we specify a name for our new workspace. And we'll name our new workspace Satish, because this is going to be my colleague Satish's workspace. So let's go ahead and run this. And so the clone operation is going to start. And at some point, it's going to ask me to enter a password that I'll need to access this new workspace. And there it is, so let's enter that now. And then it asks us to confirm. And this clone operation is going to work exactly the same and take almost exactly the same amount of time, whether my workspace is 10 gigabytes or hundreds of terabytes. It's a almost instantaneous thin clone either way. And so you'll see the cloning operation is complete, and it's given me a URL that I can use to access Satish's new workspace. But just to make sure everything looks correct, let's go ahead and run that list JupyterLabs operation again. So we run that, and you'll see, sure enough, now we have a third workspace named Satish. There it is. And the output actually indicates that it is a clone and that it is a clone of the workspace named Mike. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So let's take our access URL here and we'll jump back over to the web browser. And let's go ahead and paste this access URL in. And it asks us to enter our password. So we'll enter that password that we set during the clone step. And now it's going to load Satish's new workspace. And here it is. And sure enough, it appears to be an exact copy of the Mike workspace. So we have that same demo.csv file. And we have that same demo Jupyter notebook. And just for the purposes of this demo, let's go ahead and delete one of these files just to make sure it doesn't delete the file in Mike's workspace. So let's delete the Jupyter notebook here. So we'll go ahead and delete that. And we've deleted that in Satish's workspace. And let's jump back over to the workspace named Mike, and we'll run a refresh just to be sure. And sure enough, that demo is still there. That demo notebook is still there. So the original workspace is preserved, and any changes that we make in our clone are not made in the source workspace that we cloned from. And so this allows us to rapidly experiment and iterate with different variations of our training code and different model architectures, different data set, normalization techniques, and what have you, all the while preserving a gold source of our workspace. And that's it. It is that simple to near instantaneously clone a JupyterLab workspace using the NetApp Data Science Toolkit for Kubernetes.